Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually quite a privilege and honour for me to be here. As for rock star status, I think I'm getting a bit old for that. But I do believe very much in what I wanted to speak about, and that is putting to you a fundamental point, which is the tax administration and also the shape and effectiveness of your tax system is just absolutely fundamental to the strength of a nation's democracy. And when you think about what tax does in a country, it goes right to the heart of the pact, the relationship between individual citizens and the state. Basically, through democracy, you have that pact between the citizen and the state about the type of society that and the sort of country that you want. And at the ballot box, you may vote for certain directions, but how those directions are formed, how they unfold, and how they are implemented really will underpin the incentives to save or the incentives to invest in the country. And so the integrity of the tax system, including its administration, will impact both on that investment climate and on the funds available to the government to spend on infrastructure and social policies. Now, without that, you don't have a society. Without that, you don't have a direction for the future. So what we normally want to grow the nation is to have, very strong reform focus, reform in the sense of improvement focus, continuous improvement focus in terms of the tax system and also in relation to the tax administration. And in that context, I've been fortunate to have a long relationship with SARS in terms of their reform and development over many years. And I again had the privilege of first meeting Pravin Gordon when he became Commissioner for SARS some years ago, and on his first trip to overseas he came to Australia to see what we were doing right and also perhaps what we were doing wrong as well. And he said, "Mike, come to dinner," which I did, and all night long I had my fork and spoon to my mouth, and he'd ask me another question. I'd put it down, and he'd ask me another question, and that progressed all the way along. I got to say that I have grown over the years to have a deep respect for Pravin, but at that night I enjoyed the company, the conversation, but not so much the food. As I said, I do believe in good tax administration and its importance to a country. But in a keynote address, one cannot go past a parting comment on tax policy. And this is because when one speaks of reform in the tax arena, one often refers either to the tax administration or to the tax policy, although most of the time they really go hand in hand. You can't have major legislative change without it being able to be implemented well, and that does often require substantial changes in the administration. And sometimes you really can't do something at the administration if you don't have the legislative backing to do so, although that's not invariably the case. In fact, one of the second messages I'd like to send is that I do believe that the alignment of values and directions in the tax administration is quite fundamental to having a world-class tax agency. Now, a word or two on tax policy, and I'm going back to a book written by Professor Neil Warren from the University of New South Wales back in 2004. And in that book, Neil identified 3 trends in OECD experience.